Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, and we have the new Dylan Mallery Artisan knife. Now, this thing has been pretty popular. I did get to check it out at Blade Show, the DLC version. These are available. You can get them at, at a lot of the knife dealers. I do have a 10% discount code for White Mountain Knives. I don't think I can link it, but I will if I can directly. But otherwise, you can probably find it on White Mountain Knives. Now, anyways, let's get into it. So, we have an S35 VN blade, titanium bolster lock. Now in this one, we have the regular marbled carbon fiber or shred carbon fiber, whichever one it is. Now they do have the gold and shred carbon fiber mix on the DLC version, but titanium milled pocket clip and back spacer. Now, it is a nice small size. We're going to get into the action, and then we will get into the ergos and everything. So, great hole for the reverse flick. The access to the lock bar, really, really good, nice and soft. They put a nice chamfer on the edge there, and you can see we have a steel lock bar insert and an over travel stop right there, which is going to stop you from unspringing the lock. The carbon fiber will do the same thing because, you can't push past it, but it helps when you just have an insert in there. So, little size, but very easy to get to the deployment hole. The detent is very well tuned for the reverse flick. You can go up high for a little bit stronger of a detent. The detent when you close it is right there, but you don't have a flipper tab, so it's easy to get past. Very smooth on the drop. The thumb flick is also really good. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this front flipper. It works just fine, but they made the fatal flaw that I don't know why, when they're doing front flippers, that they do this every time. They stopped the jimping before it hit the top, making this portion round. So I tend to slip off of it a lot. I tend to go like this and then do that. Now, if I go down here, yes, I can get it just fine. I can do the tricks and stuff, so it's not that big of a deal. But if they just added one more jimp up there, instead of letting this be round like that and slick, it would make it a lot easier to just naturally flip without slipping off of. Now, I know that, so it's okay. I just lower my finger and don't let it go all the way up to the top, and it works just fine. So the action's really good. I just wish they would have added that other jimp. It's also going to be easy to work left-handed because it's a bolster lock and it goes up nice and high. So exactly where I want to put my fingers on the lock bar, it's getting blocked. So I think lefties will really, really like this one. Now the one downfall, not a reversible clip, which I'm surprised they did considering it's a bolster lock, because bolster locks are something that lefties can appreciate, because the problem with a left-handed user is that they constantly squeeze the lock bar when trying to deploy it. And in this case, you're not going to have to worry about that because, you got the cover with the carbon fiber. Now with me, I'm not left-handed and my arm's stretched around a tripod right now, and I still can easily do it with the front flipper as well. So I think this is going to be a great one for lefties. It just, sucks that they don't have the clip. Now, the ergos, it's small, so it's not going to be the most comfortable in the hand. This is not going to be a work knife or anything like that. This is a basic EDC knife. A knife you carry around. It looks good. It's fun to fidget with. You can take out of your pocket and cut something and then put it back in the pocket. Now, could you get by with doing some long-term cutting? Yeah, of course. It's just not going to be the most comfortable. It's slim in both directions, making it kind of slim in the hand. Now, the blade seems like it has good geometry. Let's check the behind the edge thickness to see how it's going to pass through materials. So we have about 20 thousandths behind the edge. Yep, 20 thousandths behind the edge. The blade stock thickness is 125 thousandths. So from 125 thousandths to 20 thousandths, the geometry is okay. It's pretty good. The blade stock's not super thick. It's, an average range behind the edge. So it's going to pass through materials just fine. It's not a mega slice or anything like that, but it's going to slice relatively well. You just, have somewhat of a smaller handle. But that's also an upside when it comes to carrying and, other things. So the utility cuts are going to be amazing because the way the handle kind of lifts up here and goes down right there, you can use your fingers to put this part right up into your palm, finger on the spine. This I have a lot of control in. I could do this in the pinch grips and everything, going around boxes, opening things up. That's going to be fantastic. The quality of the carbon fiber, I don't see any voids or anything. It looks pretty good. Very thin slabs though, which also brings out, makes it very lightweight and slim in the hand. We do have, or we don't have, I should say, there's no micro milling on the titanium. It's basically a blasted finish on the titanium. We do have a titanium pivot collar on both sides. T8 pivot on both sides, and then T6s all the way around. The screws for the clip are on the inside, so if you, I guess you're not going to want to flip the clip because you can't. Stop pin, it has the stop pin way back here. I normally don't prefer that type of stop pin because then in the closed position it hits behind the edge. Now, they did give you plenty of life to sharpen off of there, so it's not that big of a deal. But if I wanted to put a finger choil in here, like let's say I just wanted a finger choil for whatever reason, I can't do it. Because if I cut into this right here, it will, and you can see where it kind of hits right here. So if I cut into that part, it will mess up the closing stop pin because that's where it stops at. Now, I'm glad they put it in the thickest portion of the steel at least. However, when I start sharpening it, I want to be careful and not to sharpen past that point. That's a lot of life, don't get me wrong. That's a lot of life that will take a long time to do. But, it's just something I always think of because I've definitely sharpened the heck out of knives and sharpened it to the point to where, I probably shouldn't have, or not even that I shouldn't have, just that past the, the point of which it's getting obnoxious, right? Like I'm making the blade shorter but I've done it and I've had to cut in new choils and continue using that same knife. Now, since this isn't really a work knife or anything like that, I doubt that's going to be an issue in the future for anybody. It'll probably be just fine. S35VN, good steel. Quality steel. It's starting to become somewhat of a mid-grade steel, but it's always been considered a super steel, a premium steel, but it's a steel that's very tough, holds a really good edge, yet it's easy to sharpen. Now, some steels that hold an edge, as long as S35 does, can be a little bit more difficult to sharpen, or at least it takes more time. I do still recommend using diamonds on it. However, you can use aluminum oxide on it. I personally just don't recommend it, because it does have, carbides, and it's not like it's so much to the point to where you couldn't get by with aluminum oxide, but I just prefer diamonds. Now, the steel itself, when taking an edge, it, in my opinion, doesn't like a fine edge. It doesn't like a super duper fine edge. Now, if you were gonna polish it, use a low angle. That will definitely help to bring out the bite. But for the most part, it tends to get slick. So when you take it to a high grit, it starts getting slick. And even when it does hang on to the bite, when you start using it, the bite goes away really fast. Now, if you use a medium grit, around 600 grit, 600 to 1200 grit, it does really well. I prefer it personally at 600 grit, regardless of the angle I put it at. And then it holds its bite for a very long time. And it just seems like it does better with that. Now, if you do polish it, yes, it can still have a bunch of bite coming off the stone. But like I said, with a little bit of use, that bite goes away really quick and it gets slick. So, but it is a steel that does respond to stropping pretty well. It's easy enough steel to sharpen out in the field, and yeah, it gets incredibly sharp, and it holds a really good edge. It's a great steel, and like I said, it's a super tough steel, nice and stainless. So lots of great qualities about S35VN. You do have the Artisan logo back here in the backspacer. It's nice and flush. Everything lines up really good. Artisan does do a good job. Their machining is really good. Their build quality is normally really good. So, I've been impressed with a lot of their work. I'd love to get more of them on the channel. I feel like that is one company I don't get enough of on the channel, but I am trying. This one is not a cheap knife, but, it's got premium materials and build quality, so I'm not mad at the price. And it's a damn good looking knife. That is the one thing, man. It is a good looking knife. I love the style. I love the look of it. Dylan Mallery, I met him at Blade Show. Shout out to Dylan Mallery. Awesome dude. Awesome knife designer. He does a heck of a job designing knives. I have no doubt the clip's not going to work well in the hand. I don't even really feel it very much. So, yeah, very awesome. But just a quick look at it, guys. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.